Hello, everyone, and welcome to the New View podcast. My name is Mac.
And my name is Megan,
Come along with us as we dive into the world of competitive Irish dancing and beyond.
sharing perspectives, developing community, and learning from each other.
We hope you enjoy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to New View. Mac and I are excited to be here today and getting into the new year. So, today we're going to do something just a little bit different on New View. As a lot of people know, Mac and I are both very into yoga, and we've learned a lot of great lessons through practicing. Whether they can be applied to life or dancing, it's just been impactful to learn more from other people. And Mac and I both have some stories to share of our yoga experience that could be applicable to all areas of life, whether that's dancing or school or just life in general. So we're excited to be here and chat today.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, you know this about me and lots of people know this about me, but I love going to yoga because I like it as a physical sort of exercise. Yeah, it might not be as strenuous as like dancing or running, but I do love it just for the workout aspect of it. And another thing I love about going to yoga is the often like really wonderful little tidbits and insights that the different teachers I've been to share. And sometimes like they just I'll hear one and it'll just really resonate with me and I feel like I carry that as almost like a little bit of a theme in the weeks or days even just that follow going to that class. And um I was chatting to Megan about this one that I heard recently. I went to a class kind of just before the holiday season kicked off, and I was telling Megan about it, and Megan was like, "Oh yeah, I've kind of had a similar, like, heard a similar sort of thing," and we both just felt we really resonated with it, and it was useful to hear. So we thought maybe we could talk a little bit about it now, and it might be useful for other people too. So essentially, the most recent class where this kind of concept, this idea came up was, like I said, right before the holiday season really kicked off. And we were in sort of a really uncomfortable pose. It's frog pose for anybody who knows what that is, but it's like fairly uncomfortable. It can be like a pretty intense stretch. And what the instructor was saying was kind of recognizing and like learning how to feel the intensity of that feeling and maybe like the discomfort in that feeling, and to recognize like you can have discomfort and still be okay. And you don't have to like react and immediately try to get away from that feeling of discomfort. Like you're able to, whether you want to call it like breathe through it or acknowledge that that feeling is there, but then take a moment and respond to it the way you want to. And responding might just be like continuing to hold that posture for a little bit longer, or maybe it's to like, maybe you choose to sink deeper into it. But it's the idea that like you don't have to immediately react and get away from that feeling. And then the instructor went further on to say, and it was relevant because it was right before the holidays were all starting, and she was saying, this is clearly relevant in this moment as we're like in this posture, right? But you can kind of use this as an analogy for other moments in your life when maybe you're it was relevant to the holidays. So maybe you're at a holiday dinner and somebody at the holiday dinner, like one of your relatives says something that you just do not agree with at all. And you are like, oh, I polarize with that, or like, I don't agree with that. And that's kind of an uncomfortable thing. And, part of it is kind of recognizing that that idea of like, oh, you don't have to just automatically react or like do something to get rid of that feeling. You can sit with that feeling and maybe respond in a way that like is really in alignment with your values or whatever, that response that feels good to you is, right? And I really like that concept. I got how it was applicable to the holidays, but I definitely can see how that's applicable in a dancing context, in a school context, in just like a general life context. But yeah, it was a good little moment, and I wanted to share it with Megan. And then, of course, she was like, "Oh, yeah, I've heard similar ones before too." So, what were your experiences with that? Like, how did you get introduced to sort of that concept, Megan?
Well, it's very similar to you, but we were at the end of a class in Shavasana, so we were just laying on the ground. kind of a relaxing period of the class. And the instructor said, you know what, today we worked a lot on breathing through these poses, and it's been a hard class, and you did it. And like, you're just fine. You calmed yourself down, and now we're in this relaxed state, and that probably feels really amazing. And that's awesome that you did this today. But keep in mind that yoga is a place where you learn these skills. The best place to apply them would then be in your real life, whatever that looks like for you. And there were lots of different people in the class, so it might be working adults or dancers or young kids, whatever it is. And that just drew me in to think, oh, of course, immediately I thought dancing. Like, oh, I could apply this to feeling discomfort when I'm knee deep in a stamina drill and just so dead. And to
Mhm.
remind myself that I can breathe through it and get through it, and I will soon be in a relaxed, more comfortable state, but I can make it through what I'm experiencing at the moment. And I just
Mhm.
thought that was wonderful, not only for dancing, but for real life too, with work stresses and school and whatever you want to use it for. It's nice to have that perspective every once in a while of saying, okay, I am uncomfortable right now. This is hard. I maybe don't even want to do it. And I'm afraid or uncomfortable, whatever those feelings are. And I can make it through because I have evidence to support that I've done it before. Maybe it was in a different context, like in a yoga class or in a dance class, but that doesn't mean you cannot do it because now it's in a new context. Maybe you're writing a paper for school or something like that, you know? And I just think it's interesting to think about how just that simple concept applies to so many things in
Mhm.
life. And I think there's a lot of different ways you can take it. I would definitely say that the first time I heard it in the class, I was like, that's kind of dumb. Because I was just tired and exhausted. And I'm sure a lot of people would feel that way. Like if I said that to someone while they were mid stamina drill, I'm sure they'd be like, okay, that's not helpful. Thank you. Whatever. But
Yeah.
for me, and I think for a lot of people, it would show up as helpful before you start engaging in that type of event in the future. Maybe it's stressful or busy or uncomfortable, whatever it is. To before you begin, start and maybe say, "Oh, I've done something like this in the past. I'm gonna be okay. Maybe I'm a little scared, but I know how to be uncomfortable and I know I'm gonna make it through. I know I'm gonna make it through and I'll get back to a more comfortable state soon and it'll be just fine, you know? So that's really what shows up for me. But how does it kind of show up for you in your life, Mac?
I mean, very, very similar ways. Like, definitely, the discomfort of like doing a really hard workout. Another one in dancing that I think sort of towards the end of my dancing career, I started to connect the dots a little bit more, but there's definitely moments, and like, let's acknowledge, there's definitely moments where it's easier to do this than others, for sure.
Totally.
Um, and I think maybe the more you practice it, the better you get it at even the hard, really hard moments too. For me, I remember being side stage at like there was for me, there's not much more that I find more nerve-wracking than being side stage for a set dance at like a big major. Um, that just is, it's a moment in time that I struggle to like sit with, if for a lack of a better way of explaining that. And I remember being at the Worlds this year and just, I don't think I mastered the concept of just kind of like being with the moment and just being at ease with what was there because I remember trying to like think myself into being okay. Um, but I do think that it was a more evolved thought process than maybe a younger version of myself. So sorry to like explain that a little bit better. Let's say, like I was 15 side stage to do my set dance at the Worlds or something. The thought process was something along the lines of like, Oh my gosh, like I am literally so nervous. I just want this to be over. Like this is excruciating. Like literally somebody please just like make this stop because it's so nerve-wracking. Um and like there's a part of you obviously that wants to be there and wants to do it, but if I'm being really honest, in those moments that part of me was not very like alive and present. It was way more the part of me that was like, "Oh my God, please just like make this end because this is so scary." Um Whereas fast forward to the Worlds this year and having maybe like a little bit more familiarity with these concepts of like kind of just learning to find ease in the discomfort in the moments like that. Um, the thought process was a little bit more along the lines of like, you know that this moment is like going to pass. Like this will pass, just like every other moment of your life has come and go. And I guess there was a bit of a recognition this year too of like, don't wish this moment away, because all of a sudden it's going to be gone and you're never going to get this moment back. And so I think, there's another layer of value in that too, to not wish the moments of your life away, even if they are like uncomfortable moments, if that kind of makes sense. So yeah, I guess the side stage moments is definitely a really translatable one for me with that concept. Um, but yeah, it's also interesting to think about how, I don't know, I guess we can learn that, like, I guess once you have the seed of that idea, you can start to recognize it like just everywhere in your daily life, like even in the small things too. I don't know. Um, yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's totally true. And to circle back just a little bit, I would think that a side stage experience for me would be very similar to you. I know, like, from experience that I've had those same moments of like, oh, I do not want to do this. I want someone to just like come pick me up off the stage and save me because I'm so scared. I can't do this and I don't know if I can get through, but I need to be done because it's uncomfortable. And then that kind of flipping to, okay, I'm aware of how nervous I am right now and that I want to get rid of this feeling, but I'm gonna savor it because at one point I will miss this, and I do want to do my best and not let this overtake me. And while I certainly didn't excel at doing that, I think the awareness was helpful enough to get the job done, so to speak.
Hmm.
I think it's
Sorry.
still a work in progress, though.
Yeah, totally. I think it's always a bit of a work in progress. Sorry. I just love that you brought up the piece of like awareness because I think that's really, really huge is and maybe you can explain that a little bit more. Um, like what is that like when you're side stage and y you maybe have the thought of like, "Oh, I can see that I am very nervous right now." Does that change the feeling of the nervousness at all for you?
For me, I would say no, it doesn't. I honestly do feel just as nervous before the realization and then after the fact. But I would say it gives me a little bit of personality almost. I don't know quite how to explain this, but for me, it would kind of register as, okay, I'm really, really scared right now, and I just don't want to feel like this, and I can't do this, and like spiraling out of control kind of thing. But
Hmm.
all of a sudden, if I did have that awareness of like, okay, I gotta get through this, like it's just fine. I'll get to a nice relaxed state soon. I'm no less panicked than I was, but suddenly I've taken some responsibility for it almost. And I'm like, okay, I've got this. Like to some degree, I know I can do a good set dance. Like it might not be the best ever, and I might not win, or I might not get in the top five, or might not be show stopping, but I know from my prep and training that I can do my job. And that's something I kind of learned from you, Mac, to just say, I can just go out there and do my job. I don't have to make this like the craziest thing in the world, and taking away that element of pressure makes it a bit more of like a personal experience, and you kind of feel just a small sense of pride, like, no, I can do this. I can do this. It doesn't need to be crazy out there, best I've ever done, setting records or anything like that. But I can just go do what I've trained for because I'm ready and I've prepared and I'm strong and capable. So for me, it shows up like that. It's just awareness that helps me feel like this is a personal thing in a good way. And I understand how that could translate into pressure. Maybe if your preparation has been different and you're like, oh gosh, I have not prepared and I am like super scared right now. But I think that's kind of a different conversation we can have at another time. But I always enjoy the moments when it does hit and register to me like, no, I've done the work. Like, this is awesome. I don't have to be so afraid, maybe. And I can step up and take responsibility here because I know what it takes and I know what I'm capable of.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this because I think it's pretty awesome, actually, but I hope I'm understanding it correctly. So when you say like it gives you more personality, I love the way that you put it like that. It gives you more personality. But when you say that, do you sort of mean like it kind of feels a little less like you're just like your day is happening to you and it's a bit more like you're in your body like present and have some control over your experience to a degree like instead of it feeling completely out of your hands. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think there was like a distinct moment in my career. I think it was, if I had to put a date to it, around the 2020 Mid-America Oireachtas. I remember feeling for like the first time ever, like, oh my gosh, this is my job. Like, I'm the one who has to do this,
Mm.
instead of letting the day happen to me and just being like, oh, I danced pretty good and blah, 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 but like, oh, this and that. Um, letting the day control you versus placing
Getting a
some level
driver's
of
seat
calm.
kind of.
Yeah, getting in the driver's seat. And you still can't account for a tree that might be down in the middle of the road. But
Oh, that's good.
that's not your problem, right? Your job is just to drive and figure out, okay, do I turn the street before or turn around? What do I do, And
Yeah, maybe you hit the tree, but like,
yeah, but you make it
we'll
work.
deal with that when you get there.
Yeah, you do what you can. And for me, that slight bit of awareness to say, yeah, I'm in the driver's seat, like I can control if this is a good day, whether I win or lose. And that always gave me a little bit of like, ooh, I have like control over this. This is kind of fun all of a sudden. Or I can really take pride in my training because I know I can make this happen.
Yeah.
And there are certainly times since I first had that awareness that I've not been able to like conjure up that feeling. And there are
Mm.
days when I literally just like do kind of fall victim to things and do let a rough day control me. I think we've all had those, but just remembering that awareness is super helpful.
Yeah, I really, really love that. I kind of just want to put that a little analogy in a little package quickly in case that's something that would be useful for people because I think that's useful for me is it's a kind of going from like, okay, you're a passenger in the car, whether it's like a day of, let's just take a competition day, for example. Like you're a passenger in the car on a competition day and you're kind of just getting driven around by whatever's going on and it's moving from the passenger seat into the driver's seat. That's that level of awareness and like presence and just like recognition that you do have control to an extent over like how you manage your internal life and your external life in that context and everywhere, but like in that context. And yes, even though you're in the driver's seat, there are things outside your vehicle that are like outside of you. You can't like necessarily have influence over whether the tree falls down in front of you. Um, but you got your hands on the steering wheel and you got your foot on the gas and the brake, like you can do something about it as you get to it. Um, and I think that's kind of just a cool thought for people to have maybe in their mind if that's useful for them. It's like recognizing you don't have to just be like this passenger hoping that like some driver's going to get you somewhere. It's like you get to be the driver if you choose to. And it's literally just a choice. Like you don't have to do anything other than decide to be the driver in order to be in the driver's seat. I don't really know. This is kind of interesting how this conversation has like flowed into this topic, but
Well, and I think it's interesting too, because just to kind of wrap things up, what we have both learned in yoga is to sit in the discomfort and manage things from there, not to worry about the what ifs and when it's going to end and how it's going to finish. Nope, your job is to just get in the kind of uncomfortable driver's seat and take it from there, you know?
yeah, and respond in each moment as it comes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Love that. Oh, I really love that. That's awesome. Okay, well, I think that that's a really good note maybe to close this one out on. I hope that was useful for some people to hear that. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that if you have more thoughts to add to this topic, because I think it could go many different places from here, but maybe we'll leave it there for today, and maybe pick up on it again some other time. But it's been fun. It was a good one.
Yeah.
Bye. Thanks for joining us in this episode of the New View podcast. We hope you enjoyed.
If you have any ideas about future guests we should interview or want to connect, you can find us on Instagram at newview.collective or email us at newviewcollective.mm@gmail.com.